Part of what we are doing is to press for a cessation of hostilities, which I think everybody would agree would mitigate matters and clearly make the world less unpredictable. We've already provided humanitarian relief to Ukraine, to some of the neighbors, and even as we speak, a shipment of medicines is being delivered or will be delivered very soon to Kiev. Today, you have to understand it is a legitimate concern of countries to ensure their energy security. But an equally big worry, which is emerging, is of food security.
It's a leader in the region, and it actually exports security to the region, and we're grateful for that.
In terms of Lalit Jha, Press Trust of India.
My second question is to Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin. India, being a tough neighborhood, is seeking to diversify its energy and trade needs. As Prime Minister Modi says, the final goal is Atmanirbhar Bharat, which also means self-reliant India, and this includes energy independence. You know, US has played a key role in India getting food security through Green Revolution. In that context, my question to both of you is, what the United States is offering to help India achieve this goal in the field of both energy and military?
So if I could respond to the first question, what are we doing to mitigate volatility and unpredictability that the world is currently experiencing? Well, let me start, there are a number of things which are happening in the world. Let me start with the Ukraine situation. I think part of what we are doing is to press for a cessation of hostilities, which I think everybody would agree would mitigate matters and clearly make the world less unpredictable. We are also addressing the humanitarian situation. In fact, we have the Ukrainians have been in touch with us especially for the supply of medicines. We have already provided humanitarian relief to Ukraine, to some of the neighbors, and even as we speak, a shipment of medicines is being delivered or will be delivered very soon to Kiev. We have discussed the economic consequences as well. I mean, we are looking at it ourselves, but we've discussed it as partners. I think a big concern we have, and not just we, I think the world has, is of energy security, of rising prices, of increasing premiums, of limited supplies. So today you have to understand it is a legitimate concern of countries to ensure their energy security. But an equally big worry, which is emerging, is of food security. There are concerns across geographies of societies who are importing wheat or sugar or other foodstuff out of the conflict region. So we have discussed today, not just us, but I think the subject also came up in the virtual summit between Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, about what could India do to stabilize the global economic situation. And we are quite willing, and in fact we've already started responding to the need for greater food supplies, especially wheat most of all, but to some degree sugar as well. At this moment, a number of countries are discussing with us the possibility of greater food supplies, including the World Food Programme. So that's the Ukraine part of the global situation. But that's not the only problem that we face. I think the COVID has also left us with a lot of uncertainties and a lot of challenges to be addressed. Again, I think part of it is how do you construct more reliable and resilient supply chains? How do you increase trust and transparency? How do we work together on critical and emerging technologies like 5G? And again, we discussed an Indian initiative called Performance-Linked Initiative, which would incentivize manufacturing in India. And I think it's very much in American interest to support it. We also spoke about how we could work together to help with the global health situation. How do we get a shot in every arm? How do we increase the distribution of vaccines? And the other issue, again, which has added to global uncertainty is Afghanistan. And how do you stabilize the region? How do you, again, provide humanitarian assistance? We are, as you know, in the middle of providing 50,000 tons of wheat. How do you deal with the terrorism concerns that the world has in the Security Council, in FATF, etc.? And I would say, in a way, in terms of mitigating and stabilizing, the Quad itself is a great stabilizer. So that too is part of the contribution we are making towards a better world, and making that contribution in large measure through a partnership with the United States.
Yeah, so the question was, what are we offering to India in support of its defense security, I think was the question. As you heard in our earlier statements, we're working closely with India on a range of priorities to support India's security and its role as a net security provider. It's a leader in the region, and it actually exports security to the region, and we're grateful for that. Some of the things that we talked about, as we stated in our opening statements, information sharing, deeper cooperation in space and cyberspace, liaison exchanges, continuing to work together more frequently in exercises, but also exercises of increasing complexity. So we're working with India on a number of things, and we think these things will add tremendous value to the region in terms of security.
And on the last part of the question on energy, first let me say what we're seeing across the board is that the Russian aggression against Ukraine is having profound impacts not only on the people of Ukraine, the brutalization of the country, but it is having global impacts, including, as we were talking about, on food availability and prices, and also on energy. And we've seen significant increases in price there as well. One of the important steps that President Biden took was to proceed with a coordinated release from strategic petroleum reserves that will continue over the next, for the part of the United States, over the next 6 months to ensure that there is adequate energy on world markets, both to have an impact on availability as well as on price, to deal with the disruptions caused by the Russian aggression. I think if that aggression stops, if the conflict stops, it will have a positive impact, both on energy availability and prices, as well as on food availability and food prices. More broadly, though, India is the third largest consumer of energy in the world. It's a big place, a big market. Electricity demand is projected to double by 2030. We've dramatically increased our own energy trade with India, diversifying its energy sources. Our energy exports to India now total about $11 billion a year. Ultimately, the most effective way to satisfy this growth, the needs of the Indian people, the Indian economy, is, of course, to honor the climate goals, the ambitious climate goals that India has set, including particularly the expansion of renewables. And again, I point you to the very important commitments that Prime Minister Modi made at the COP26. We are committed, for our part, to partnering in India's clean energy transition, and this needs to be a partnership. We have a responsibility, a historic responsibility, as well as a current responsibility, in trying to make sure that we're helping to make available the technology, the financing, the support to help countries make that transition, to adapt, to build resilience in dealing with climate change, and making sure that adequate supplies of energy are reaching their people. There's a long-standing strategic clean energy partnership that is co-led by our Department of Energy, the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas in India. That is deepening cooperation on energy efficiency and next-generation fuels. And we have the Quad. We've got a working group on climate that's partnering on green shipping corridors and on green technology. Here at the State Department, our own Energy Bureau has done a lot of work, including collaborative studies with Indian researchers on the most economical decarbonization pathways. And finally, I just note our Development Finance Corporation just announced a $500 million loan to First Solar, which will produce solar panel modules in southern India, furthering climate goals, diversifying solar supply chains. So in all these ways and more, we are working both to deal with the impact of the Russian aggression on energy, but much more broadly with this combination of helping India meet its energy needs while advancing together the vital climate agenda that we share.